Hey, it's John A, and you're in the Gen Zone. The House Republicans sounds like a group of pompous, out-of-touch wannabe elites, when in reality, my clinical analysis says they are a sad group of men with sexual identity issues, wrapped in an Oedipus complex, surrounded by toxic masculinity that they then tried to hide behind the Bible. Jim Jordan. They are not here to govern. They're not here to make things better for the people whom they represent. No, these elected officials are focused on investigating everyone, from Dr. Fauci to Twitter to the January 6th committee. This is what the elected officials want to focus their attention on? And then the Republicans ask themselves, can we impeach Biden for the economy? Can we impeach Biden about his son Hunter? Can we impeach Biden about Afghanistan? Can we impeach him on Ukraine or China or this or that or just about anything they can think of? For them, it's just a matter of let the impeachments begin. They want to investigate the people who investigated the January 6th riots. Once again showing us that the party of no ideas has showed up again with no ideas. Just a desire to stop whatever the Democrats have done. That's not governing what you were elected to do. The funny thing is that everyone knows this game that you play, and it's all going to blow up in your face. The Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is launching a student loan relief fund to help Black college students, alumni, and dropouts. Let's give them a round of applause. The organization we previously reported misappropriated millions from their donors. I believe it was somewhere around like $90 million. Anyways, out of the millions Black Lives Matters received, they're dedicating a mere $500,000 to the student debt crisis. The foundation plans to award around 500 student payments, ranging from $750 to $4,500. Well, I've definitely been a broke college student, so I know very well that every little bit counts. And here at the Gen Zone, we applaud even the small wins. While President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan is being stalled, I know many of us can benefit from this opportunity. So be on the lookout, soulmates, because applications reopen in February. And don't say I never helped you. There has been a lot of talk about immigration, both leading up to the 2020 midterms and long after. So, to prepare you for when it comes up again in the 2024 general election, tonight I want to touch on immigration legislation. And that has had the support from both parties, yet failed to pass into law over the last 11 years. Maybe you've heard of it as the Immigrant Children's Educational Advancement and Dropout Prevention Act of 2001. No? Okay, well, how about the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Act of 2006 or 2007? Neither of those? Then how about the Dreamers Act? All the same bill, just with some tweaks and a more catchy name. So what is the Development Relief and Education for Alien Minors Act, known as the DREAM Act? It grants temporary conditional residency with the right to work for illegal immigrants who entered the United States as minors. And if they later satisfy further qualifications, they would attain permanent residency. And I know it sounds all great, but we wouldn't be talking about it if it was that perfect now, would we? And just to be clear, this is not the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Act, or DACA for short. We'll get into how this mixes into this in a little bit. But for now, who are the Dreamers? Because they were brought to the U.S. at a young age, many dreamers consider the United States to be their home and have grown up as American citizens in all but the name. A few weeks ago, we spoke to a dreamer who spoke of the unique challenges these individuals often face and uncertainty due to their immigration status. And there has been much debate and discussion around the issue of providing a path to citizenship for dreamers. The DREAM Act, which has been introduced in Congress several times, would provide a path to citizenship for dreamers who meet certain criteria, such as graduating high school or serving in the military. Most of these kids and teenagers have come here with their parents who obtained a working visa and have grown up and graduated high school practically as Americans. These are known as documented dreamers. And 2 years ago, there was an estimated 253,000 children waiting to obtain permanent residency based on their parents' employment-based immigrant visa petitions, and now are at risk of aging out of their protection they have under their parents' visa. But many of these parents face enormous wait times because a green card will not become available because of numerical limits and restrictions by country of origin for receiving a green card. There are particularly large backlogs and thus lengthy wait times, especially for individuals born in India and China. One study estimates that certain India nationals will have to wait somewhere between 39 to 89 years for a green card if visas continue to be made available at the current rate. So just in case anyone wasn't clear, the United States is okay with having people come here to work, but not okay with them gaining residency. You also have the undocumented dreamers who, just like the documented ones, have grown up and gone to school their whole lives. But when they go to get a driver's license, find out that they're not documented. They are kids of migrant families, often looking for a better life in the United States, but working in fields that usually don't provide long-term working visas. So after multiple years of inaction and with no help from Congress, President Obama decides to act. According to the Howard University Law Library, in response to the failure of the DREAM Act legislation to pass both houses of Congress, President Obama initiated the immigration policy known as DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, in 2012. DACA provides a 2-year deferment from deportation actions and provides eligibility for a work permit. But this is just a Band-Aid, as it was only a temporary protection that needed to be renewed constantly. Then when President Cheeto came into office, he was like, these illegal immigrants are stealing all the jobs from Americans. But just an FYI, there were plenty of jobs to go around. Plus, not to mention, dreamers have already been here and they've already been working. Heck, even the military was like, how about we give away citizenship with service? Because in 2007, several senior officials at the Department of Defense spoke in favor of promising resident status to members of the military who were dreamers as a means of boosting recruitment. Does that sound familiar?
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Join the mobile infantry and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship.
So Trump then asked Congress to come up with something for him, because why would the sitting president need to come up with any of his own plans or legislation, right? And the most recent version was introduced as the DREAM Act of 2017 by Senators Lindsey Graham, Dick Durbin, Jeff Flake, and Chuck Schumer. While having bipartisan support, it still failed to pass into law. Notice how it was 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats that proposed the bill. So that brings us to today, where both sides are yelling about immigration reforms. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of it all. I'd love to see some compromise here, and the majority of Americans agree with me. I think we found some easy common ground for that compromise. We get to keep the talent that was cultivated here and bring a small part of our immigration laws into modern times. Sounds like a deal to me.
Gen Zone.
Y'all know I like to keep it fashionable here on the Gen Zone. So let's see who's serving looks in politics. Michelle Obama has been killing it on her promo book tour for The Light We Carry. All the looks have been edgy and unexpected coming from our First Lady. Now, this first look is an all-white monochromatic Balmain look with an ethereal yet bold fashion statement, a true fashionista, breaking the rule that you can't wear white after Labor Day. Well, says who? The next look was a tailored pantsuit from Brandon Maxwell, paired with a reflective graphic top, giving it a professional yet laid-back vibe. The next look by Dion Lee was definitely the most surprising, as stylist Meredith Coupe paired together a black bomber with a bold black and neon oversized pant, giving Miss Obama an urban street look. And last, but certainly not least, my favorite look from the promo tour, a top by Marine Sir that was paired with a denim bell-bottom by Balmain, giving the outfit a boho chic vibe that was very fashion-forward.
Chenzo.
New year, new state. Will Puerto Rico become our 51st state?
Puerto Rico!
Congress has passed a bill that would allow Puerto Rico to hold the first ever public vote on whether to become a state or gain some sort of independence. With the Senate split evenly, it's no telling whether the bill will go any further. However, if passed, Puerto Rican citizens will vote on 3 options: statehood, independence, or a freely associated state. Now, all the media has mixed reviews. So let's look at the pros and cons of accepting this island. Here are the pros. We would improve their economy immensely. They would get to vote in our elections, and they would be included in federal programs like food stamps, Medicare, and Medicaid. Now let's look at the cons. The United States would become responsible for all of Puerto Rico's debt. They would completely reshape our political government, take away congressional seats already appointed to make room for them in Congress. And we inherit their debt. Some natives are opposed to this legislation. They're concerned that the country will lose their essence, their culture, and tourism, not to mention that English would become their first language. This is a tough one. I guess all we can do is wait and see what happens next.
Chenzo.
Mayor Bass plans to attack homelessness head-on, as she told us here on this show. Right after being sworn in, it was the first thing she addressed and declared a state of emergency. If any of you have been traveling around the city of LA these last few years, then you know it's about damn time something drastic was done. The amount of people sleeping on the streets is inhumane. America is one of the richest countries in the world, yet more than 500,000 of our citizens are homeless. So I am glad Mayor Bass is taking on the responsibility to get these people shelter. But of course, as always, there will be people who say they care about homelessness, but make comments against every move made to help solve the problem. Like Fox Media pundit Jesse Waters, who immediately complained about Mayor Bass's plan. He called her Queen Karen and an authoritarian. For some reason, people like Jesse Waters, who have conservative views, claim they are for the benefit of America. But clearly, people like him don't like Americans. Isn't it funny how people like him, because trust, he's not alone, will always complain about the ideas that are presented to help the less fortunate, and at the same time, have no ideas of their own? How easy it is for you, Jesse, to connect every homeless person to mental issues or drug addiction. Is that fun for you, to smile and crack jokes about the atrocities of homelessness and do nothing, absolutely nothing about it? At least Mayor Bass is addressing it. Now, this is not to suggest that what Jesse Waters had to say is completely inaccurate, but it was a small fraction of the 40,000 population of homeless people in LA. So Stop the cap. Stop lying to people. Mayor Bass is not giving my residents to the homeless. She is building affordable housing, and she has $100 million to do it. But is your first concern about who she hires to do the construction? You want to imply that there should be some oversight to delay things? You want there to be a committee that then takes weeks to vote on the plans of what is going to be built, which will then be another few weeks of debates and votes on where it can be built? But before any of that can happen, they would have already spent weeks appointing people onto this unnecessary committee. You want bureaucracy created, so the red tape is created, so nothing gets done. So because Mayor Bass is not doing any of that and wasting time in your political Ferris wheel, you want to imply that she will be inappropriate and only hire her friends and donors. Based on what? And so what? As long as the money is spent on the homeless, why are you complaining? Do you even live here?
Be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Chenzo.
It's time for our QAnon conspiracies. This week's conspiracy is all about President Biden. It seems that Q has come to the conclusion that our commander-in-chief is a clone. Now look, I'm pointing out the absurdity of this for a specific reason. QAnon conspiracies are very real in the minds of their followers. So I watched this conspiracy come to life since the election. The election deniers and the QAnon supporters joined forces behind this conspiracy that the country is being run by the military. This was their reasoning for the over-the-top military presence at the inauguration. They believe that the man we see as President Joe Biden is simply not him. The deep state is controlling the powers of the presidency through a figurehead, or at least 10 different versions of President Biden. Literally, 10 different masks, depending on which clone or double is playing the president that day, all with different known Biden mannerisms. What makes me talk about this is the fact that people actually believe it. They subscribe to the notion that this could be pulled off in front of the whole world. But any logical person knows that this just could not be done and wouldn't be done. So cute. No clones, no fake Biden, no puppet regime, no nothing. Just President Joe Biden. So this is debunked.
Chenzo.
Senator Marco Rubio from Florida is at it again. Now, he's most famous for saying that child support should begin at the moment of conception, but now has announced legislation to ban TikTok in the United States. Gee, way to suck the fun out of everything, Senator Rubio. There's a whole group of politicians, left and right, as well as the National Intelligence Director and FBI Director, working in cahoots for the anti-TikTok push. The concern is that the China-owned company is an unacceptable risk to our national security and to the safety and privacy of American users. They believe it's possible for the Chinese government to spy on us and collect our data through the content we share on the app. Oh, and they also believe the company has connections with the Chinese Communist Party. This sounds a lot like our QAnon segments. That Chinese-owned TikTok is just a guise for spying on Americans. But wait a minute. Because I remember during the pandemic, when TikTok started becoming popular, Trump signed an executive order to ban it altogether, unless it was sold to an American company. That order never went into effect and was actually revoked by Biden. But now, 2 years later, both parties agree on it? What has changed? What new information have y'all found out? Y'all keep giving Trump reasons to say, I told you so. Plus, TikTok has been shady in the past. Remember when black content creators were boycotting them because the other white users were stealing all their content and dances and getting all the credit for it? It was literally the social media version of Bring It On. And that other time that they had a technical glitch where any videos with hashtag George Floyd and hashtag Black Lives Matter received 0 views. And just add the fact that it's the 21st century and content creators had to practically beg TikTok to show some diversity is crazy. Now, needless to say, but I'll say it anyways, I'm unbothered by this bit of news. Let me remind you, TikTok banned the Gen Zone page. So now, it's only a matter of time, TikTok, before they ban you.
Gen Zone.
All right, we're back here at the Gen Zone, and we have former candidate for Congress, Baxter Stapleton, with us again. Thanks for joining us, Baxter.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know that aside from, running for political office, you also are a film director and you direct music videos and all kinds of things. You also are on TikTok. How do you feel about what's going on with TikTok right now? Do you think they're actually going to get banned?
I think government employees no longer have TikTok on their phones for sure. But I think that now it's up to like people, our friends, and to think about if we still want to keep it on our devices as well. But I think the part that I think that just something to think about is the fact that we don't really own our data. So how important it is that the fact that I think the new currency in this new industrial revolution is our data. Like, I think that the last industrial revolution was about oil and how that changed our world. And I think now the currency is data. So the fact that one company, TikTok, for example, can access your phone without the app even being on and be able to find out how old you are, where you're located, and a lot of things about you, and create this whole profile can, I don't know, can be a little overwhelming, I think. But the fact is that Facebook is doing the same thing. So whether or not we want to be open to a company that's here in the US doing that, or a company that has, ownership from the Chinese government, I think it's up to us to decide. I think that's why technology is a tool. And so it can be used for good, or it can be used for malicious purposes. But, I think that's the intent of the user versus the technology itself.
I was going to ask you if you could grade the Biden administration on these first 2 years, what would you give them?
I give them a B plus or A minus. I think that came into it with he's done a really great job, actually. I think the infrastructure bill was a huge win, and I think that right now gas prices have settled, at least in this part of the country. I know it's always crazy in California, but I think that the economy is getting better, and so I think a lot of the major impacts that the president has, he's controlled and done a good job. And then also the fact that internationally, I think that we're in a better standing globally than where we were 2 years ago, I think is really important. So I think overall he's done a really great job.
So now I have to ask you, Baxter, do you see yourself running for public office again?
Absolutely. I think that being a candidate, I recognize that running a campaign is like running a small business. So I've learned a lot from having the experience running previously in this past election. So I'm so passionate about why I wanted to run in the first place. And I know I can help make a difference. So I want to be of use and be of service. So be on the lookout, and I just hope that everyone can keep multiplying and not dividing.
Absolutely. Multiply, not divide. I love that. I love that slogan. With that slogan alone, you should win. And you always have the support of us at the Gen Zone. Always. Always welcome back any other time. Can you please share with the people how they can reach you, how they can contact you, where they can follow you, all that jazz?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. So I'm Big Bax on Instagram, and Twitter it's Baxter Stapleton, and BaxterStapleton.com is my website. So would love to stay in touch, and want to hear from what they're passionate about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shanae. I love the Gen Zone.
Gen Zone.
We do our QAnon segment on this show to give you perspective and make you aware of what the crazies are saying. But are they really crazy? This week's top 5 are QAnon conspiracies we shared that actually rang true. 5. The Biden administration will mandate the COVID vaccine. 4. The Monsters, Inc. plot is actually about adrenochrome. 3. Dr. Fauci had wheelings and dealings with Wuhan. 2. The U.S. government and the number one conspiracy that rang true. TikTok is a guise for the Chinese government to spy on Americans. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to stay awake and aware. Happy New Year. I'm John A., and you've been in the Gen Zone.